This is the third time I'm filming this because I just can't quite figure out what I want to say. I've already received multiple messages from people about the story I posted of the pastor basically like sharing his frustration with the outrage over Charlie Kirk and how it's selective, which I very much believe it is. I posted on TikTok a couple days ago just basically saying that this entire situation has made me so frustrated with both conservatives and liberals. Like, as an ex-conservative, a lot of the liberal reaction is like, oh yeah, this is why I despised liberals when I was a conservative. But the conservative reaction is very much like, oh wow, yeah, this is why liberals despise conservatives. The just blind painting of someone as a complete and utter saint when there's so many people crying out saying, hey, this guy hurt me. Hey, this guy did damage to me. Just painting over it completely, I think, is irresponsible and just not based in reality, honestly. Unless someone's name is Jesus, they never did everything completely perfectly. Unless their name is Jesus, they hurt people at one point. And taking this complete hard stance of Charlie never did anything wrong. He did everything right. He did everything from a place of faith and scripture. It's simply not possible. I have said things that are harmful. I have posted things that have had a negative impact for the kingdom. And I don't even have a big platform. As someone who works in marketing, I can 100% certainly tell you, even when you have the absolute best motives, at some point, the clicks you're getting, the impact your content is having, the return you're seeing on that investment, because let's not forget this guy was a multimillionaire, from his platform, it is completely impossible to separate the two completely, even when you come from the absolute best place. So it is completely impossible for someone to be absolutely 100% altruistic when they have a big platform like that, when they are profiting off of their platform in such an intense, immense way. Charlie was a multimillionaire because of his platform. He had power because of his platform. And we all know money corrupts. I am not saying that he was a terrible person because he had money. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying it's foolish for us to go, he 100%, he never said anything wrong. I've had multiple comments of people being like, he never said anything wrong. He never said anything hurtful. But we're sitting here pretending that this guy had no negative impact whatsoever, that he never said anything that could have been harmful. He never said anything that could have been hurtful. If you were hurt by his words, it's just because you were hurt by the truth. And honestly, for us to insist so intensely, well, if you had a problem with him, it's either because you just didn't see enough of his content and you're believing a false picture of him, or because you just can't handle the truth. That's gaslighting. That is freaking gaslighting, and it's wrong and it needs to stop. And I am so tired of seeing it. There are so many people that I love and respect posting things that are making me just absolutely sick to my stomach. And as believers, we have a responsibility to have empathy. I don't care what Charlie Kirk's view of empathy was. I care more about Jesus's view of what empathy was, and what Jesus's view of loving your neighbor was, and what Jesus's view of spreading truth was. And Charlie Kirk, I'm sorry, did not line up with Jesus's way of doing things and interacting with people and spreading truth. Simply referring to Black people as blacks is enough for me. Like that right there in and of itself is enough for me to go, oh, okay, yeah, no, we're turning this off now. And I don't want to get down a tangent of things he said, things he didn't say. His legacy is not one of gentleness and love. Like the fruit of the Spirit, people. You will know them by their fruit. What are the fruit of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. And those are not the things that come to mind when I look at Charlie Kirk's content. I have seen content where he's like, yeah, I want to be known for my faith. I want to be remembered for my faith. Great. Intent does not equal impact. And his impact, while it may have been positive for you, while it may have reinforced your beliefs, while it may have honestly been encouraging to see someone boldly speaking scripture, that does not mean that his impact that he had on you is the same as it was for everyone. And I have seen just this sweeping blanket statement that if you don't agree with Charlie, if you were hurt by Charlie, that's a you problem. That's gaslighting. And for what it's worth, someone using scripture to back up their beliefs is nothing special, because guess who else did that? The literal devil. The literal, actual devil. Look at the story of Jesus in the wilderness. The enemy quoted scripture in a relevant way. Now, it was not the correct context. It was not the correct interpretation, but it was relevant to the situation. And if Jesus hadn't been wise, he would have just gone, oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense. Sure, I'm going to throw myself off this building now. I'm going to make these rocks into bread now because, okay, yeah, you quoted scripture at me and it made sense in the situation. Someone quoting scripture does not mean they are spreading truth. It is incredibly easy to twist scripture into what you want it to say. And, oh my gosh. So I'm obviously getting a little heated here, and I don't really want that to be the case because there are so many of you that I genuinely do love and respect. But this has got to stop. This truly, it's not based in reality. Pretending someone only ever had a positive impact, and if you felt negatively impacted, that's a you problem, it's not based in reality. It's not loving. We have brothers and sisters who are crying out to us saying, I am really hurt by this, and you're hurting me further by continuing to praise this person. That doesn't mean we have to go, oh, about face, Charlie was a terrible person. I understand that he had a positive impact on a lot of people, and that's great. That's part of his legacy too, but we cannot ignore the negative part of his legacy as well. And we gotta stop gaslighting our neighbors about it. So we need to be willing to have a conversation about the bad parts and the good parts. Admitting that someone did bad things in their life does not take away from your positive view of their legacy. At least it shouldn't, because if our view of someone is so fragile that we can't admit that they did something wrong and had a negative impact as well as the positive impact we see, what does that say about our view of the person? That says that we are in a dreamland that's not based in reality, where we have to invent someone's character because their actual character can't stand for itself. It's okay to admit that Charlie had a negative impact too. He was not Jesus. He was not perfect. I am not perfect. I can admit that I have said things that are harmful. I have had a negative impact on people that I have had to reckon with. It takes nothing away from someone's status if we're not idolizing them when we admit that they did things that were wrong as well. And it's clear that our refusal to acknowledge the negative is having a very negative impact on a lot of people, and honestly pushing a lot of people away from Christ. So that's something we absolutely need to think about. I am happy to have kind discussions in the comments. Well, I guess this is not a video, this is a story, but I'm happy to have kind discussions about this. I'm not sure how much emotional energy I'll have for it today because I am just sick to death about all of this and exhausted from the discourse. But if you do message me, I'll get back to you eventually, because I think this is a really important conversation to have. And I do think it's important to come from a place of love, which is part of the reason I'm going to call it now, because I'm starting to get heated and I want to just have these conversations from a place of love. But we need to be able to have these conversations, complete conversations about the whole person. We can't just pretend someone was completely good. That's not helping anyone. In fact, it's hurting, and it's just not truth. So if you made it this far, whether you think Charlie Kirk was the greatest voice of our generation or you think he was an absolutely garbage human being, you are valuable. Your opinion matters. You are loved and valued beyond measure by our Creator, and I care about you as a human being. And I want to have a calm, kind discussion with you if that's something that you want. Yeah. So I genuinely hope that you have a good day. I genuinely hope that you feel loved and valued today, and that you can be kind to yourself and to others as we're witnessing and having this public discourse. This is something that the enemy is already using to cause a serious divide where there was already a growing divide. So even if that means we need to take a step back for a minute before we continue the conversation, I think we need to be willing to have it. All right. Have a great day. I love you.